Welcome back to Wages and Employment at Wilfrid Laurier University. Today we're going to look at a class of programs called the negative income tax. For reference, you should pair this video with readings in Chapter 3 of your textbook. A negative income tax is very similar to the welfare programs we discussed in an earlier video, except that the clawback rate is something less than 100%, so we don't have that same welfare wall that arose in that earlier example. Consider an example with a 50% clawback rate. This is setting T equal to 0.5. A person has an income guarantee of G dollars if they don't work at all. If they work 1 hour and earn the wage W, they would get that dollar but reduce their benefits by 50 cents. Their net wage then is an after-tax wage, or 1 minus TW. The benefits, of course, can only be reduced to 0, at least in how we normally think of such programs, so that once the minimum guarantee G is less than the taxed back earnings, the person is no longer eligible for the benefits at all. So we'll bring this back to our constrained utility maximization problem. The person is offered a wage rate W1 in the market, has non-labor income YN1, and is willing to work H1 hours with L1 hours of leisure time. Suppose we introduce the program I just outlined. We start with the benefit G and receive the full amount when we don't work. Then, if we work even a bit, we get those wages, but we lose some benefits. So the slope of this new constraint is the after-tax price of leisure, or 1 minus TW. We may have earned $1, but we're only ahead or by something less than $1. So the slope is less than the wage rate. Now, we saw before that a welfare program with a 100% clawback would have taken this person out of the labor force, or point D here. But since they can now gain something financially by working more, the options for staying in the labor force seem better, and we see this individual choose bundle B instead. An important thing to notice here is that we have both income and substitution effects moving in the same direction. The substitution effects work to reduce the price of leisure so that there's less to gain from any additional work. That, in turn, would increase leisure hours. The income effects offer people these benefits and increase their potential income. That, in turn, should increase their leisure hours as well. So this type of program unambiguously reduces labor supply when we compare it to the absence of this type of program. But recall the negative income tax has been viewed as an alternative to welfare programs with 100% clawbacks. And with that as the benchmark, the program would raise participation in the paid labor market. So what do we have for empirical evidence? We know that it's hard to disentangle the effects of programs from the business cycle or other things that go on in the labor market or politics. But once in a while, we find a good experiment. In the 1990s, 2 Canadian provinces took part in the Self-Sufficiency Project, in which a group of welfare recipients were placed into either a treatment group or a control group. The control group remained on social assistance with no changes, but were interviewed before and after the experiment began to offer a baseline for labor market decisions without any new programs. The treatment group was offered an earnings supplement. So if they were New Brunswick, there was a benchmark set at $30,000. If, for example, they earned $20,000, they would get a supplement equal to $5,000, or half that difference. So what happened? The experiment tracked what portion of each group was employed, starting 1 year before the earning supplement was offered. Before the experiment started, here between 12 months and time 0, or minus 12 months and time 0, the employment rates of the treatment group and the control group were very similar, starting out at just 6%. Once the earning supplement is offered, we see a huge increase in the employment rates of the treatment group. But not all of this increase can be attributed to the program. We also see a steady increase in employment for the control group, because over time, many people do leave welfare for jobs. So the control group is used as a baseline for what would have happened anyway. And the difference between the two groups, represented by the dashed line here, shows the effect of the program. If you stopped watching them after only 1 year, you would have been convinced of a substantial effect on employment, raising the chances of being employed full-time by about 15 percentage points. But the researchers kept watching for several years, From our control group, we see many people leave welfare eventually, with or without any supplements. So while the supplement may have sped up a return to work, which certainly has its benefits, the long-term effects on employment may fade away. In our next video, we're going to take a look at another policy that has tried to improve work incentives while offering income support in the form of wage subsidies, often administered as tax credits.